there's a 101-year-old woman who recently got evicted from a home, and I think it was in Detroit or Michigan somewhere. So anyways, she lived in this house for nearly 60 years, and because she had a 65-year-old son who was supposed to pay the mortgage on this house, and they kept sending the bank kept sending him these notices saying, all right, you got to pay, you got to pay, you got to pay the mortgage, and he just basically kept ignoring them. So basically on Monday, the woman who was 101 years old, the mom, got evicted from her house, and she went home, and all her crap was placed outside her house. Pretty much the bank booted her out because
foreclosed on her?
Exactly, because the son wasn't paying. So let me ask you this. Is the bank wrong for evicting this old lady?
No. 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 No.
So you're saying that what they did was kind of fair?
I mean, you have to, you can't pick and choose, who's you're going to give, like, charity to, And just because she's 105, that's really unfortunate. And I'm not saying, like, I don't think, like, elderly people deserve, proper care or whatever else. But if this woman put her son responsible for paying the mortgage and he didn't, it's not like there's anything legal you can do about that. Like, it's between a mother and a son. So
the bank isn't breaking the law, and they're not discriminating against her because she's old. They're just, doing what they always do. They even gave her, like, years worth of notices. So they're saying, it may not be right and may not be the moral thing to do, but it's fair.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it. So basically you're saying that the son is more to blame?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably a crabby son.
So I want to ask you what should happen, but I know what should happen. What should happen is everyone around her should pitch in, get her someplace to live. But what should happen in the other sense of the term? Like, if you were the government or, anything like that, what would you do? Legally, I guess.
I don't know, maybe for special instances, maybe help out old people a little bit more, just because, they are elderly and they need special care.
I guess I'll ask you this. Is it the government's responsibility to take care of elderly people when they can't and when their family has abandoned them?
No, I don't think so, to be honest.
So you don't think the government should be responsible for that?
It's sad and it's mean and it makes me sound like a complete jerk, but I don't. It's sad because some people, like old people, don't have like families to take care of them, but I really can't say that the government should be responsible for that. It's it's kind of a tough
subject, saying but life's life.
Yeah, because I have grandparents, and if like we weren't around to like take care of them, like I would feel like that would suck. But
hey, that's life. It's not always fair. It's not always easy.
Tough
That's
luck.
Just the way it is. See, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that, and I just think that, it kind of is the government's responsibility. That's why we have it, to take care of the people who need it. And I know a lot of you guys were writing in and saying that, oh, Bucky hates poor people, because whenever we were talking about food stamps and I was saying all these things that people should be working instead of just being lazy, they're like, oh, Bucky hates poor people. But I want to give you guys my stance on this so I clear things up. I don't hate poor people or, underprivileged or whatever you want to call it, but here's how I feel. That people who can contribute to society and don't, they shouldn't be helped, in the sense that I'm not against helping poor people, but I am against taking away from the hardworking people, the mothers and the fathers who wake up, who hit the alarm clock every morning and say goodbye to their sons and daughters and go to work for the day, taking away from them to giving people who are just too lazy. So there's a difference between the poor people, when I say poor people, and I guess we're politically not allowed to say poor people or whatever, but there's a difference between that group of people and the elderly and disabled. And the reason is this: because this group of people, it's their own choice. Whether you do drugs, that's a conscious choice that you make, that I'm going to make a bad decision and this is why I ended up this way. If you're born disabled or you grow up and be old and you can't take care of yourself, that isn't a choice you make. That is just, the way of life. So I think that in those circumstances, when it's not your fault that, you're underprivileged, then the government should step in and help you out.
I would agree with you on that.
So
it's
that's
like, why help someone who isn't even helping themselves,
Exactly. So, I just wanted to say that I'm not against, giving to poor people. What I am against is taking from people who really deserve it and who really earned it and giving it to the people who kind of just, want to take the easy way out.
Yep.
So, I got an update on the back of this. Since this was a couple of days old, and this all happened on Monday and Tuesday, she is getting a home now from somewhere. I didn't write it down. That's all the info I have.
Good for her. Maybe she'll live till 106.
She's 101, by the way.
Oh, maybe she'll live to 102.
Or 106.
I thought she was 105.
So let's go ahead and take some calls and see if anyone can debate with me.